Hello friends, our story today is based on a superhero Flash, of which the series has a total of 9 seasons. I am explaining the first episode of Season 1 today.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. When I was a child, I saw my mother killed by something impossible. My father went to prison for her murder, then an accident made me the impossible. To the outside world, I'm an ordinary forensic scientist, but secretly, with the help of my friends at Star Labs, I fight crime and find other metahumans like me. And one day I will find who killed my mother and get justice for my father. I am the Flash.
The episode starts with Barry, an 11-year-old child who is running away from other kids on the street out of fear. Barry can't run fast enough, so the bad kids catch him and beat him up. Barry is then shown with his mother Nora in the evening, where soon after, Barry's father Henry also arrives, and the three spend family time together. The night when suddenly Barry wakes up hearing his mother scream, Barry sees that the things around him have gotten quite slow. Frightened, Barry goes into the hall, where he sees an aura of red and yellow lightning completely surrounding Nora, and everything there is moving very slowly, and Barry also sees a man in that light, which Barry tries to tell his father about, but Henry doesn't pay attention to his words and sends him out of the house to save Barry's life. This scene cuts here, and now the story shifts to the present, 14 years later, where Barry, after a robbery at the Central City Bank, is investigating with Detective Joe West because Barry had become a forensic scientist. He finds out the culprit was the Marden brothers by analyzing the tire tracks from the crime scene, as the Marden brothers had previously robbed Central City banks several times. Therefore, identifying them through the car's tires was relatively easy for Barry. Meanwhile, Barry is checking other evidence in his lab when Iris arrives. Iris, who was Barry's childhood friend and also Joe West's daughter, brings Barry to Star Labs, which was Central City's largest laboratory, owned by Harrison Wells, whom Barry admired greatly. Dr. Harrison Wells was about to broadcast an experiment on quantum theory that night, which Barry wanted to witness up close. Based on the evidence found at the accident site, Barry informs Joe about the Marden brothers, and then he leaves for Star Labs with Iris, where their conversation reveals 14 years ago, Barry's mother's murder accusation fell on Henry, resulting in a life sentence for Henry, Barry's father. Because Iris and Barry had been friends since childhood, Joe takes him into his own home, where, having grown up together, Barry harbors feelings for Iris, but Iris only sees Barry as her best friend. Then, when they reach Star Labs, Dr. Harrison Wells explains his experiment about activating the particle accelerator through quantum theory that night, which would completely change physics and the source of electricity, bringing a significant change to the entire medical industry. This speed was still going on when suddenly a thief comes and steals, for which Barry also runs after to retrieve, but the thief injures him. Just then Detective Eddie arrives and catches the thief, witnessing which Iris is quite impressed and starts praising Eddie, which Barry does not like at all, and Barry returns to his lab where he was watching the experiment on TV. Just then, breaking news starts appearing on TV, where everyone is being requested to quickly evacuate Star Labs because there was some problem with the particle accelerator about to be launched. Suddenly, a bright light shoots out from Star Labs and there's an explosion. On the other hand, Joe, at the address provided by Barry, is going to catch the Marden brothers with his colleague. They escape the plane while firing shots, where we see a shockwave from Star Labs crashes the Marden brothers' plane. Meanwhile, a part of the lightning strikes Barry as well, severely injuring him. Barry is brought to the hospital, and now when Barry wakes up, he finds out he has been in a coma for the past 9 months, and right now, Barry's treatment is happening at Star Labs. He is cared for by Dr. Harrison Wells' assistants, Caitlin and Cisco. Then, Barry's gaze falls on a mirror in front of him, where he sees his abs, which were not there 9 months ago. Barry had thousands of questions in his mind when Dr. Harrison Wells appears and explains to him, 9 months ago, due to my negligence, Star Labs was banned by the government because, on the night of the experiment, a total of 17 people were killed and many were injured. I am one of them too, and now I can never stand upright again. The day the particle accelerator exploded, a part of the lightning went inside you too. Your heartbeat had increased several times faster than a normal person. Since that day, no one believes me. But only I could fix you, thought Joe, and Iris sent you under my supervision. As soon as Barry hears the name Iris, he leaves Dr. Harrison Wells' words unfinished and walks away. Meanwhile, 9 months later, seeing Barry standing before her, Iris is very happy, and then she takes Barry to her father, Joe, where, along with Joe, other department people are also relieved to see Barry safe. A call comes in from the Gold City Bank to the department, reporting sudden bad weather and some thieves inside, on which Joe and Eddie leave Barry in the department in haste and head there. At the bank, we see this is none other than Clyde Marden. Clyde Marden, the older brother of the Marden brothers, suddenly controls the weather, causing a storm inside the bank, then robs it and escapes. Meanwhile, here we see Barry spotting a criminal who is about to take the inspector's gun, but Barry stops him from a distance. But the oddity here is that no one sees Barry doing this because Barry's speed had significantly increased. Barry later realizes this when he tells Iris to meet him outside on the road, where he feels everything has slowed down considerably. Even when walking at a normal speed, he finds himself reaching far distances. Barry starts running on the roads to check his speed and begins to bump into things here and there. Seeing his speed increase so much, Barry goes to Dr. Harrison Wells, while on the other hand, the investigation at the bank, according to Joe, doesn't reveal much about the thief. Dr. Harrison Wells brings Barry to a plane track to test his speed with his team, where Barry runs from one end to the other like a bolt of red lightning with ease. But then, suddenly remembers something from his childhood which causes him to trip and fall, resulting in an injury. Where Caitlin takes an x-ray of Barry's hand in the lab and is amazed to see Barry's fractured hand healing itself. Dr. Harrison tells him that there are many more new things we still don't know about you, so be more cautious going forward and keep getting your checkup done at Star Labs periodically. Hearing Dr. Harrison's words, Barry nods, after which Barry goes to meet Iris at the cafe where she used to work, but Eddie is already there, and seeing him kissing Iris breaks Barry's heart, and he decides to leave. Just then, Iris sees Barry and realizes he must be upset, wondering why she hid such a big thing from Barry. Iris follows Barry and apologizes to him, explaining, after Barry went into a coma, Iris and Joe took care of each other, and Eddie had liked Iris from the beginning. Here, Clyde Marden attacks Barry with his car, where Barry uses his speed to safely move to the other side of the road and follows Clyde. Barry is shocked to see Clyde alive in front of him, but even more so when he sees that Clyde can control the weather. Barry and Clyde were about to talk when the siren of a police car sounds, and Clyde creates a storm of ice to escape. Joe arrives just then, where Barry tells Joe about Clyde's powers, but Joe doesn't believe Barry's story, which angers him. Barry goes to Dr. Harrison Wells and demands the truth about the particle accelerator from 9 months ago. Dr. Harrison reveals that there was a malfunction in the particle accelerator 9 months ago. The force was so great that it broke its protective ring. Its electron particles spread throughout the city as electricity, one fragment of which also hit Barry. And since then, Dr. Harrison Wells and his team have been searching for those metahumans who were affected by the particle accelerator's lightning, with Barry being their first discovered metahuman. Barry, angered by these revelations because a wrong experiment has now put the entire city at risk from metahumans like Clyde Marden, who now has dangerous powers, runs from the city and meets Arrow, who is a superhero himself. Arrow, understanding Barry's situation, reassures him that there must be something special about him for having been chosen for this power. He advises Barry to stop worrying and face the upcoming threats from meta-humans and save his city. Barry, encouraged by Arrow's words, returns to Star Labs, where he suggests forming a team with Caitlin and Cisco to find all the meta-humans in the city and save their city. Caitlin and Cisco agree to support Barry. Cisco then gives Barry a specially designed red suite for fear resistance, which also contains instruments to monitor Barry's body activities from their PC. Meanwhile, Joe and Eddie, having solid proof of Clyde Marden being alive, rush to Clyde's old hideout, where Clyde, calling himself a god, creates a tornado and starts moving it towards the city to destroy it. Barry, wearing his suit, arrives at the location and, following Dr. Harrison Wells and Cisco's instructions, runs in the opposite direction of the tornado's speed, neutralizing it, but in the process, Barry's face mask comes off, revealing his identity to Joe. Just then, Clyde aims a gun at Barry, but Joe swiftly takes down Clyde, who dies on the spot. Now knowing the truth about Barry, Joe apologizes to him and asks for forgiveness for not believing in him before, including about the man in the lightning Barry tried to tell him about as a child. Joe now believes Barry and apologizes for everything. He makes Barry promise to keep these secrets. The next day, Barry visits his father in jail, where he tells Henry that he has found a way to reach his mother's killer and will soon free him from the false accusation. And the scene cuts there, and in the next scene we see that Barry, now known as the Flash in the red suit, has saved the city from a tornado. At the end of the episode, we see Dr. Harrison Wells entering a secret room in Star Labs, standing up from his wheelchair, looking at a digital newspaper dated April 25, 2024, with news of the Flash's disappearance, ending the episode with a twist. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can continue watch this series like this. Thanks for watching.